ancient forest wisdom that transforms gardens forever. What if I told you that the rotting logs you're hauling to the burn pile are worth more than a decade's supply of store-bought fertilizer? That the branches you pay to have removed could eliminate your water bill and double your harvest? Right now, you're throwing away the single most powerful tool nature ever designed for growing food. For centuries, European mountain farmers watched the forest and learned its deepest secret. Fallen trees don't just decompose, they become living batteries that power the soil for generations. While modern agriculture sells you dependency in a bag, nature has been offering independence through a simple act: burying wood. Today, you're going to discover why the smartest gardeners on Earth are digging holes and filling them with what everyone else calls trash. This isn't about composting. This isn't about mulching. This is about building a self-sustaining ecosystem underground that works for you 24 hours a day, every day, for the next 20 years, without asking for a single thing in return. Welcome to Home Gardener. Let's talk about wood burial, the method that's about to change everything you thought you knew about growing food. The forest's hidden intelligence. Walk into any ancient forest during the worst drought of summer. The city parks are burnt brown, your lawn is crispy, every municipal fountain has been turned off to conserve water. Yet here, deep in the woods where no human has watered a single plant, the ferns are lush, the moss is vibrant, and the canopy towers in perfect emerald green. The secret isn't magic, it's engineering. Every tree that falls becomes infrastructure. As those massive trunks rot, they transform into biological sponges with millions of microscopic chambers that trap water, store nutrients, and regulate temperature. The forest floor isn't just dirt, it's a three-dimensional water storage system that would cost millions to replicate with modern technology. Medieval farmers in the alpine regions of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland noticed this phenomenon and turned observation into revolution. They developed what they called Hügelkultur, which translates to mound culture. But the name doesn't capture the genius. They weren't just making mounds, they were importing the forest's operating system into their fields. These farmers buried logs, branches, and woody debris beneath their growing beds and watched their productivity explode. Crops that normally required constant irrigation thrived through months without rain. Vegetables grew larger and more flavorful. The soil became richer every year instead of depleting, and it all happened without spending a single coin on inputs. The living sponge, how buried wood holds water. Let's talk about the cellular architecture of wood. When a tree is alive, its trunk is a network of tiny capillary tubes designed to pull water from roots to leaves, sometimes hundreds of feet into the air. When that tree dies, those tubes don't vanish, they open up. As fungi and bacteria colonize the wood, they break down lignin and cellulose, the structural compounds that make wood hard. This decomposition process is gradual, taking anywhere from 5 to 20 years, depending on the wood species. During this time, the log transforms from a solid block into something with the density of memory foam. Here's where it gets extraordinary. A single rotting log can absorb and hold several times its own weight in water. When rain falls or snow melts, that buried wood soaks it up like a subterranean reservoir. Unlike surface soil, which loses moisture to evaporation within hours, water stored inside decomposing wood stays locked underground, protected from sun and wind. Your plants sense this hidden moisture. Their roots grow deeper, extending into the sponge layer, and extract water molecule by molecule through capillary action. This creates a slow-release irrigation system that functions during drought, during heat waves, and during those critical weeks when your vegetables are setting fruit and need consistent moisture most. In conventional gardens, you're watering the surface and watching 70% of it evaporate or run off. In a wood-buried system, you're building a vault. The moisture stays where it belongs, in the root zone, available on demand for weeks or even months after the last rainfall. The underground furnace, heat generation through decomposition. Decomposition is slow combustion. When billions of microorganisms consume the carbon in buried wood, they release energy, not as flame, but as heat. This is an exothermic process, the same principle that makes your compost pile steam on a cold morning. Inside a large wood core mound, internal temperatures can run several degrees warmer than the surrounding air. This radiant heat rises into the root zone, creating what amounts to an underground heating system for your plants. The effect is most dramatic during the shoulder seasons, those critical weeks in early spring and late autumn when frost threatens to end your growing window. Imagine planting tomatoes 2 weeks earlier than your neighbors because the soil temperature is already 10 degrees warmer. Imagine harvesting lettuce in November while everyone else's garden has been killed by frost. This thermal mass extends your productive season by weeks on both ends, sometimes adding an entire extra month of harvest time. The heat also stimulates root growth during cool periods. Plants in warm soil establish faster, develop more extensive root systems, and show greater resilience to temperature swings. You're not fighting the weather anymore, you're buffered against it. The 20-year nutrient bank, slow-release fertility. Modern fertilizers are built on a lie, the lie of speed. Synthetic nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium deliver a quick hit that makes plants surge, but leaves the soil stripped and dependent. It's the agricultural equivalent of giving a patient stimulants instead of nutrition. Buried wood operates on the opposite philosophy. As it decomposes, it releases nutrients at a pace that mirrors the actual uptake rate of plants. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, trace minerals, all of them become available gradually, over years, in a steady trickle that prevents both deficiency and toxicity. The carbon-rich structure of wood also prevents nutrient leaching. In conventional soil, heavy rain washes soluble fertilizers down past the root zone and into groundwater. But carbon acts as a molecular anchor, binding nitrogen and other nutrients in the topsoil where plants can access them. This means that nutrients don't just stay available, they accumulate. Year after year, your soil gets darker, richer, more fungal-dominated. The microbial population explodes because you've given them a stable food source, and as those microbes live and die, they add their own biomass to the fertility of the system. You're not spending money to maintain your garden, you're watching it upgrade itself automatically. This is a 20-year investment. You build it once, you plant, you harvest, and every year the returns get better. Building microclimates, the vertical garden revolution. Flat gardens are boring, not aesthetically, though that's true too, but functionally. A flat surface gives you one temperature zone, one moisture level, one light exposure. You're stuck with whatever your climate dictates. By building mounds over buried wood, you create topography, and topography creates diversity. The south-facing slope of a mound receives full sun and heats up quickly, perfect for heat-loving plants like peppers, eggplants, and melons. The north-facing slope stays cooler and shadier, ideal for lettuce, spinach, and herbs that bolt in hot conditions. The peak of the mound has excellent drainage, which makes it perfect for Mediterranean herbs like rosemary, thyme, and oregano, plants that hate wet feet. The base of the mound, where water naturally accumulates, is where you plant moisture lovers like celery, chard, and certain medicinal herbs. You've turned a single garden bed into a multi-zone ecosystem. In 1 square meter, you can grow plants with wildly different needs, all thriving because the architecture of the system provides exactly what each species requires. You're no longer limited by your regional climate. You're designing microclimates within your garden. Growing the impossible, exotic plants in unlikely places. There are documented cases of gardeners in cold climates successfully growing citrus, kiwis, figs, and grapes, crops that should fail in their hardiness zones, by using wood core mounds. How? The combination of retained heat, superior drainage, and protected root systems creates a microenvironment that mimics a climate zone several degrees warmer. The buried wood maintains a stable root temperature of around 54 to 57 degrees Fahrenheit, 12 to 14 degrees Celsius, even during winter. This prevents the freeze-thaw cycles that kill the roots of borderline hardy plants. Meanwhile, the raised structure captures maximum sunlight and sheds excess moisture, preventing root rot. Combine this with strategic placement of the mound, perhaps against a south-facing wall that reflects additional heat, and you can push your growing zone by 2 or even 3 USDA zones. You don't need a greenhouse, you don't need electricity or propane heaters. You need wood, soil, and a willingness to challenge what everyone says is possible in your region. Plant health and natural medicine, growing nutrient-dense medicinal food. Stress is the enemy of nutrition. When plants struggle with erratic watering, temperature extremes, and nutrient deficiencies, they focus all their energy on survival. They don't have the resources to produce the secondary metabolites, the compounds that give food its flavor, color, and medicinal properties. In a wood-buried system, your plants live in luxury. Consistent moisture, stable temperatures, a steady nutrient supply, no stress. This allows them to invest energy in producing the compounds that matter: antioxidants, vitamins, polyphenols, essential oils. Your tomatoes don't just taste better, they have higher lycopene content. Your basil has more eugenol. Your garlic produces more allicin. Medicinal herbs that thrive in wood-core gardens. Certain medicinal plants particularly excel in this system because they benefit from the fungal-rich, slightly acidic environment that wood decomposing creates.
Echinacea, Echinacea purpurea. This powerful immune-boosting plant develops deeper, more potent roots in the loose, moisture-retentive soil of a wood mound. The consistent moisture prevents the root from becoming woody and bitter, while the nutrient-rich environment increases the concentration of active compounds like echinocosides in alkamides. Plant on the sunny side of the mound for maximum flowering and root development. Comfrey, Symphytum officinale. Known as knitbone for its bone and tissue healing properties, comfrey is a dynamic accumulator that mines deep soil nutrients. In a wood-based system, its extensive root system penetrates the decomposing wood layer, extracting minerals and bringing them to its leaves, which you can use as medicine or mulch. The allantoin content in comfrey leaves helps heal wounds, bruises, and inflammation when made into poultices or salves. Valerian, Valeriana officinale. This powerful sedative herb produces its most potent roots in cool, moist conditions. Plant valerian on the shadier north side of your wood mound, where temperatures stay moderate. The roots contain valerianic acid and other compounds that reduce anxiety and promote deep sleep. After 3 years in rich wood-amended soil, the roots reach their peak medicinal strength. Ashwagandha, Withania somnifera. This adaptogenic herb, prized in Ayurvedic medicine for stress reduction and vitality, develops exceptionally potent roots in well-drained, warm soil. The south-facing peak of a wood mound provides ideal conditions. The withanolides, ashwagandha's active compounds, reach higher concentrations when the plant isn't stressed by drought or waterlogging. The buried wood system provides exactly this balanced environment. Ginseng, Panax quinquefolius, American ginseng. True ginseng requires forest conditions, shade, consistent moisture, and rich fungal soil. Buried wood creates exactly this environment. Plant ginseng on the shaded side of your mound, under a light canopy. The decomposing wood fosters the mycorrhizal fungi that ginseng depends on. After 5 to 7 years, you'll harvest roots worth their weight in gold, packed with ginsenosides that support energy, cognition, and immune function. Turmeric, Curcuma longa. This anti-inflammatory powerhouse requires warm, consistently moist soil to develop large rhizomes with high curcumin content. In traditional gardens, turmeric often suffers from drought stress or waterlogging. In a wood core mound with its perfect water regulation and heat generation, turmeric rhizomes grow larger, more aromatic, and more medicinally potent. The root systems spread aggressively through the loose, organic-rich soil.
Calendula, Calendula officinalis. While not a root crop, calendula flowers grown in stress-free wood-amended soil produce more resinous, potent blooms. The flowers contain higher levels of calendic acid and other compounds that make them invaluable for healing salves, teas, and tinctures. The consistent moisture prevents flowers from becoming dry or losing their medicinal oils. Ginger, Zingiber officinale. Ginger rhizomes require warmth and moisture, but hate standing water. The drainage and heat generation of buried wood makes it possible to grow tropical ginger in temperate climates if you started early. The gingerol and shogaol compounds that give ginger its medicinal bite reach peak concentration when the plant grows in stable, nutrient-rich conditions without drought stress. The medicinal value of plants isn't just in the species you choose, it's in the soil they grow in. Wood-based gardening creates the conditions for maximum medicinal potency, turning your garden into a living pharmacy. Why modern agriculture abandoned this wisdom? If wood burial is so effective, why isn't it everywhere? The answer has nothing to do with effectiveness and everything to do with economics and mechanization. Industrial agriculture is designed around machinery. Massive tractors, combine harvesters, and center pivot irrigation systems all require flat, uniform, obstacle-free fields. You can't drive a 40-ton harvester over a mounded wood core bed. The entire infrastructure of modern farming is built on the assumption that soil is merely a growth medium to be supplemented with purchased inputs. There's also the problem of short-term thinking. Wood burial requires patience. You invest time and labor up front, and the returns compound over decades. But modern agriculture operates on quarterly profit cycles. Farmers need to see results this season, not in 5 years. So they buy fertilizer, which works immediately but depletes the soil. Chemical companies have no interest in teaching you to be self-sufficient. Their business model requires dependency. Every season you need more nitrogen, more pesticides, more amendments. If you build a system that works for 20 years without external inputs, you stop being a customer. That's why this method has been marginalized, not because it doesn't work, but because it works too well. By choosing wood burial, you're opting out of that system entirely. You're reclaiming autonomy. You're saying no to the 90-day dependency cycle and yes to the 20-year resilience cycle.
Practical implementation. How to build your first wood core bed. The process is simpler than you think, but it requires forethought. Here's the method that produces the most reliable results. Step 1. Source your wood. Use any available wood, fallen branches, trimmed logs, old lumber, untreated only, no pressure-treated or painted wood. Hardwoods like oak, maple, and ash decompose slowly and last longer. Softwoods like pine and poplar break down faster, releasing nutrients more quickly. Mixing both give you short-term and long-term benefits. Rotten wood is actually better than fresh wood because decomposition has already begun. Step 2. Dig or mound. You have 2 approaches. If your soil drains poorly or you have clay, build a mound on top of the ground. Lay logs directly on the surface and pile soil over them. If you have good drainage, dig a trench 1 to 2 feet deep, place your wood in the bottom, and cover it. The mound approach is faster and better for wet climates. The trench approach is better for dry climates, where you want water to sink deep. Step 3. Layer your materials. Place large logs at the bottom. Add branches and smaller wood on top to fill gaps. Layer nitrogen-rich material like grass clippings, manure, or kitchen scraps between the wood layers. This accelerates decomposition and prevents nitrogen robbery, the temporary nutrient lockup that occurs when fresh wood starts breaking down. Top everything with 6 to 12 inches of good soil and compost. Step 4. Saturate and plant. Water the bed thoroughly to soak the wood. This kickstarts decomposition and fills the sponge. You can plant immediately, but be aware that the first season may require supplemental nitrogen as the wood begins breaking down. After that first season, the system becomes self-regulating. Step 5. Observe and expand. Your first bed is a learning experience. Watch how plants respond. Notice which zones stay moister. Track the temperature differences between the mound and flat ground. Use this knowledge to build your next bed even better. Over time, you can convert your entire growing area into a wood-based system. The solution to drought, rising costs, and food insecurity. We're entering an era of instability. Water is becoming expensive or unavailable. Fertilizer prices are volatile. Weather patterns are unpredictable. Food prices are rising. Every one of these challenges is a reason to panic, unless you've built a system that doesn't depend on any of them.
Wood burial is the ultimate insurance policy. You make one investment of labor using materials you already have or can get for free. In return, you get 20 years of increasing productivity without ongoing costs. No fertilizer bills, no irrigation bills, no dependency on supply chains or corporate agriculture. This isn't just about saving money, though you will save thousands of dollars over the life of the system. It's about autonomy. It's about resilience. It's about knowing that when everything else becomes unreliable, your garden will continue producing food for your family. You are turning trash into treasure. You are building soil instead of depleting it. You are creating a legacy that will outlast you. Future owners of your land will benefit from the work you do today, discovering rich, productive soil that seems to grow food effortlessly. Your choice, dependency or sovereignty. Every rotting log you've ever burned was a missed opportunity. Every branch you hauled away was potential wealth discarded. The wood isn't waste, it never was. It's concentrated solar energy, stored water, slow-release nutrients, and thermal mass all in one package. The forest has been using this method since the beginning of time. Medieval farmers rediscovered it and built their independence on it. Modern homesteaders are returning to it as conventional agriculture fails to deliver sustainability. Now it's your turn. You have everything you need. The knowledge is in front of you. The materials are probably in your yard right now. All that remains is the decision to begin. So here's the question. Are you going to keep buying dependency in a bag, or are you going to bury some wood and build a garden that works for you for the next 20 years? This is Home Gardener. Start digging, start building, start reclaiming your sovereignty, one buried log at a time. Thanks for watching. If this video changed how you think about your garden, share it with someone who needs to see it. And if you want more techniques for growing food without dependency on the industrial system, subscribe to Home Gardener. We'll see you in the next one.